and welcome to another episode of Finance on Your Terms. I'm Mike, that guy over there is Danny, and as Danny introduced last week, we are going back to school or back to basics when it comes to your finances. We kind of hinted at this last week when we talked about emergency fund. If an emergency fund is kind of your foundation, if we're talking about building a house or a building or anything you want to talk about, everything above that, so all the carpentry, the woodwork, the frame, all of that is sort of the initial plan for how you are going to attack your financial goals. And I think the beginnings of that frame, usually for most of us, we're all going to be starting out with some kind of debt. Dun, dun, dun. It happens, I know. Debt, that four-letter word that we run into. And a lot of times we run into it because, well, we went to school, we've got some student loans. Sometimes we want to buy a house, which is great, so we don't throw our money away towards rent, or however you got to that debt. But here's the thing about debt. It's not maybe what you see.
Yep.
It can be looked at in a few different ways, and I think Danny's going to tackle that.
Thanks, Mike. The thing that we run into is I've got clients, I've got prospective clients that have come to me and have said, Danny, I want to work with you, I want to work with Iron Horse, but I've got too much debt. I'm embarrassed to talk about it. Yeah. I get it. I've been there. My wife at one point threatened not to marry me if I didn't get rid of some of my credit card debt. And so
I think that was me with my wife too. I kind of said, I was like, we gotta get this figured out.
Yeah, we're great financial planners, guys.
Yeah.
Because now we're fine.
Yeah.
But the point we're trying to make with debt is it doesn't have to be an embarrassing thing. It doesn't have to be something that you're ashamed of. And in fact, it can be a pretty useful tool when it's used correctly. The thing that we find with debt is there's always those studies, there's surveys, there's things out there that say, you got your, as Mike says, you got your foundation, you got your emergency fund set. So now the next best thing, you got to pay all the debt off, right? Get rid of all of it, because that's the most important.
Gotta do it.
Gotta get rid of it. Mike, what are your thoughts on that?
So first of all, I love it because honestly, no debt is good debt.
Yep.
We all want to end up, especially as we get closer to retirement and some of those bigger financial goals, with absolutely zero debt. That's going to help you out immensely. But there is a strategy to paying off debt. And what we want to do is look at your entire financial picture, because throwing every single dollar you have beyond that emergency fund at debt, it may not be the best thing for you long term. Again, that's the ultimate goal, but it may not be the best strategy. So what we want to do is take a look at your debt. What are the amounts of debt that you have, and what are they going towards? What were the goals that you were trying to work towards when you got that debt? And what are the interest rates? And that's really, really critical when we start talking about debt. Is your interest rate 3.5%? Is your interest rate 18%? That's going to be key when we start looking at opportunity costs, and that's what it all is about. Every dollar you've got can be used towards something. Opportunity cost is what you lose by by putting this dollar here versus over there. So are there smarter ways to use that dollar versus just saying, all right, we've got to pay off this debt versus something else? And so that's kind of the strategy that we're trying to do.
That's the strategy. That's why the financial planning really is crucial and is important. And I'll wrap up just by saying, again, we look at every situation as a unique one-on-one, one experience, one client, one situation. At a time. Yeah. The simple fact is no one's exactly the same, and so we're not going to sit here across from you and say, yes, you have to pay down all your debt, or no, don't pay down all your debt. We want to learn what your feelings are. I've got clients who tell me they can't sleep at night because they've got this debt. If that's the case, pay down the debt. If it helps you sleep better, even if it is at a 3% rate, when you could be getting a better return in the market, pay it down, make it go away.
Yeah.
So with that, I think we'll wrap up this week.
Yeah.
And next week, we're going to come at you with some strategies on how to pay down that debt if that makes sense in your situation.
Yeah. Help strip the emotions away, help rationalize it, but honestly, we all want the same thing. We want to get rid of that debt so that you can put that money towards better use for your financial goals. As always, thank you guys for tuning in and listening to this episode of Finance on Your Terms with Mike and Danny. Share the videos, and as always, let us know what you want to hear about. Like we said, next week we're going to be coming at you with a couple debt payoff strategies. But going forward, who knows? Back to basics?
Back to basics.
We want to know what you want to hear about. So we'll see you next week. Thanks again.
Thank you.